Personally, I got my vaccine 2 weeks ago. I was very excited to get my vaccine. I waited for 3.5 hours in the lineup, but I was committed to get my vaccine. So I got my vaccine, my wife got the vaccine, my kids are getting the vaccine, depending upon their age. My daughter hasn't got it yet from school, but hopefully that'll come soon. So, and I see around in my office, in the communities, and in my co-workers, everybody, there's a culture now that you get a vaccine, you get a sticker, and you get a card. So I think it's important that people keep that card, which will be very important for you to show or demonstrate that. For example, if you're going to a concert or travel, there's a lot of discussion on that, what sort of evidence would you need to have when you travel internationally. So I think a lot of people are very curious and very interested in those sort of things. So vaccine I see around is the most popular thing these days, and everybody's going for it. In terms of impact of COVID-19 on myself and how the past 14 months have been, I would say tremendous impact from 15-hour to 16-hour shift. Weekends were more busier than the weekdays. Constant calls from the chiefs, the chief calling me or I calling the chief, both ways. Was a constant, a very bilateral sort of quick communications with the chief was one thing that I want to mention here, is that my job was to keep the leadership informed. Apart from the COVID-19 response, there was an ultimate and a very urgent need that leadership needs to be informed. So the moment I got a case or a VOC or an outbreak declared, the second moment I will be calling the chief and having a meeting with the chief and councils and with the nursing team, just to walk them through the process, what an outbreak mean in a pandemic, what sort of response is expected, what are the key things we need to do to detect, to trace, and isolate. So that was like every hour, every minute sort of discussions with each communities, and frequent calls with multiple communities every day. Actually, I had days that I had 20 calls with 20 different communities, just walking them through the situation that they are in. And for me, it was also a tremendous learning from our leadership and from our First Nations communities and from the knowledge keepers, from the Indigenous knowledge keeper and elders. I think one of the most exciting thing that I can talk for hours, and I really would like to do more on that, is sitting together very regularly with Indigenous leaders, elders, ceremonial leaders, knowledge keepers throughout this pandemic. We had numerous challenges in this pandemic in terms of these fake information and fake news, misinformation, and disinformation really shaping opinions. And I do remember that, and that is the one big pride that I have in terms of what the Saskatchewan elders and the Saskatchewan knowledge keepers and ceremonial leaders have helped me in terms of response to the COVID-19 situation. I have numerous ceremonial leaders and elders came out very loudly against the virus, and spreading the word of wisdom and knowledge and intelligence that I have not seen in any medicine or in any medical sort of textbooks. So that was a pretty tremendous learning experience for me, that the knowledge keeper, the ceremonial leaders will help us in public health response and the pandemic response. They come out with some really prominent, loud statement full of wisdom that actually shape opinion. So I have numerous elders releasing statement on the COVID virus, how you need to protect, how you need to protect your family, what are the key things that protect the family, like these 2-meter distancing, masking. So those sort of messages used to come from the Indigenous ceremonial leaders and Indigenous knowledge keeper, which really helped us tremendously conveying and relaying and disseminating those information to the right audience. So that was a tremendous help for us, that the leaders and the ceremonial leaders and Indigenous elders helped us in response to the COVID-19 situation. And those posters and those statements are the legacy of this pandemic, and I'll keep it forever. And I'm going to be, one lesson learned for me, that I'm going to be working more and more closely with our Indigenous leaders and knowledge keepers. The wisdom and the knowledge that they have was tremendous in terms of the success to the response to this pandemic. So a lot of lesson learned, a lot of dialogue with the communities, and basically learning from the communities and working with the communities. Responding to an outbreak is not an easy thing at the community level for the chief and for everybody. So that mutual sort of collective response to COVID-19 was one of the most positive things I would ever, keep with me as a lesson learned.